Middle East has long been a region of dynamic tension where peace is often fleeting. From ceasefires to temporary agreements, every moment of calm seems to be just a prelude to renewed conflict. This recurring pattern raises a compelling question: why does peace never truly last in this part of the world? Historically, the region has been a crossroads of civilizations, religions, and empires. Its strategic significance has made it a constant battleground for control, ideology, and resources. However, the instability is not merely political or economic, it is deeply tied to spiritual patterns that Scripture highlights. The Bible frequently refers to conflicts and unrest as part of the human condition and as signs of the end times. Jesus himself warned of wars and rumors of wars, highlighting the cyclical nature of global conflict. Modern conflicts echo these prophetic patterns, reinforcing that what we observe today is part of a larger story foretold long ago. Understanding this helps believers maintain perspective. Peace may be temporary, but this instability serves as a signal, a reminder that the world is not running on human design alone. It is also why the faithful must cultivate discernment, observing the broader context rather than being consumed by individual skirmishes. When we look at Middle Eastern conflicts through the lens of prophecy, patterns emerge: cycles of escalation, attempts at peace, and sudden flare-ups. Each cycle seems inevitable because it reflects the human tendency toward pride, ambition, and self-interest, which the Bible repeatedly warns about. These recurring struggles are not random. They serve as markers in the timeline of history, prompting reflection and spiritual awareness. Why do these conflicts keep returning? Is this just politics and history repeating itself? Why does peace seem so fragile in this region? Could there be something deeper behind it all?
The Middle East is a focal point of the world, not only because of its historical and religious significance, but also because of its strategic and economic importance. Oil, trade routes, and geopolitical alliances have drawn the attention of global powers for centuries. Every new conflict triggers international responses, media coverage, and political debates, affecting not only local populations, but the entire world. The Bible also underscores the significance of this region. Many prophecies center around the land of Israel and its surrounding territories, highlighting their spiritual and symbolic importance. Events in the Middle East, therefore, carry implications far beyond their geographic boundaries. Modern observers may notice that unrest in this region often acts as a catalyst for broader instability. Economies fluctuate, alliances are tested, and the global political climate shifts. This is no coincidence. Prophetic patterns suggest that tensions here are part of a larger plan, demonstrating that human actions alone do not determine outcomes. For believers, understanding why the Middle East garners such attention helps frame current events within a spiritual context. It is not merely politics or economics, it is a place where prophecy intersects with reality and where human decisions
is it
are
only
shadowed
because of
by
politics
larger
and
divine
resources?
designs.
Why do
Observing
events
these
there
dynamics
create global
provides
tension
insight
so
into
quickly?
the unfolding
Does this
narrative
region
and
hold
reinforces
deeper
the
significance?
urgency of
The
spiritual
Bible repeatedly
preparedness.
mentions wars and rumors of wars as indicators of human frailty and as signs in the last days. Matthew 24:6-7 warns that nations will rise against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms. These warnings illustrate a recurring theme. Conflict is not new, and it is a predictable pattern throughout history. Modern Middle Eastern wars fit this pattern, showing how prophecy mirrors reality. While these verses are often interpreted symbolically, their literal application is evident in the repeated cycles of unrest we witness today. The prophetic lens does not single out one side, but emphasizes human behavior. Pride, ambition, and moral decline contribute to instability. For believers, these warnings are not meant to instill fear, but to cultivate awareness. Understanding the biblical perspective allows us to view conflicts as markers rather than mere political events. Wars and rumors of wars serve as reminders that the world is subject to spiritual as well as human dynamics, calling for vigilance and discernment. Observing these patterns helps the faithful anticipate what may come and prepares them for the challenges that arise from global unrest.
Are these events connected to biblical warnings? Why did Scripture emphasize constant conflict? Are we witnessing patterns foretold long ago? Which should believers be paying attention to? Ceasefires and temporary agreements often create the illusion that peace has finally arrived. For a brief moment, hope flourishes, markets stabilize, communities breathe easier, and leaders announce milestones. Yet history shows that these periods are often short-lived. The fragility of peace can be attributed to underlying tensions that are not fully resolved. Disputes over land, resources, and ideology continue to simmer, and without true reconciliation, the next conflict becomes inevitable. From a biblical perspective, temporary peace aligns with the notion of fleeting stability before a larger fulfillment of prophecy. The faithful are reminded not to anchor their hope solely in human agreements, which can be fragile and short-lived. Recognizing the ephemeral nature of peace fosters resilience and spiritual perspective. When people mistake temporary calm for permanent resolution, disappointment follows when conflict resurfaces. Understanding the difference between temporary stability and enduring peace is crucial. This awareness reinforces the importance of grounding hope in God rather than in human treaties or political solutions. Each resurgence of conflict serves as a reminder that the deeper issues remain unresolved and the cycle of unrest continues. Why do peace repeatedly collapse? Are people becoming too dependent on temporary calm? Can humanity truly solve these conflicts permanently? What happens when hope keeps turning into disappointment? Conflicts in the Middle East do not remain isolated. Their impact reverberates globally. Economically, oil prices fluctuate, markets experience volatility, and trade routes are affected. Politically, alliances are tested, diplomacy is strained, and countries must navigate complex foreign policies. Socially, refugee crises emerge, creating humanitarian challenges and global migration patterns. Spiritually, the perception of instability can sow fear and anxiety, affecting communities far beyond the region. Prophecy often portrays these ripple effects as part of the unfolding last days, demonstrating how local unrest can have global consequences. For faithful, understanding these dynamics underscores the importance of discernment and awareness. Observing global reactions provides insight into how human actions interact with spiritual patterns. By examining the broader consequences of Middle Eastern conflicts, we gain a holistic view of how wars shape economies, influence political stability, and affect societies worldwide. This comprehensive view allows for informed reflection and spiritual preparedness, reinforcing the urgency of maintaining faith amid uncertainty. Why do regional conflicts affect the entire world? How is global instability increasing? Are these wars changing more than we realize? What kind of future is this leading toward? The constant exposure to conflict creates a pervasive sense of fear and anxiety. News cycles bombard individuals with images of violence and unrest, contributing to a psychological burden that affects mental health and spiritual focus. For believers, this can lead to distraction, shifting attention from spiritual growth to mere survival. The Bible warns about being anxious over many things, reminding followers to anchor their faith in God rather than circumstances. The persistent stress and emotional fatigue caused by repeated conflicts in the Middle East exemplify this struggle. People become preoccupied with immediate dangers and losses, often losing sight of long-term spiritual objectives. This shift can hinder prayer, reflection, and discernment. Recognizing the impact of fear and distraction is essential for maintaining spiritual clarity. By understanding how these conflicts influence emotions and focus, believers can take proactive steps to stay grounded in their faith, prioritizing God's work even amid external turmoil. Are people becoming emotionally overwhelmed? How does fear affect spiritual clarity? Are believers slowly losing focus? What happens when survival becomes the priority? Wars and repeated instability often exacerbate division within communities and nations. Differing opinions on alliances, leadership, and conflict resolution deepen societal rifts. Social media amplifies these divisions, creating echo chambers and reinforcing biases. Biblically, division is often seen as a consequence of pride, fear, and moral drift. In the Middle East, repeated conflict has heightened tensions not only between nations but also within them, causing distrust and animosity. Globally, these divisions manifest in polarization over foreign policy and humanitarian responses. For believers, recognizing division is crucial. Awareness allows for discernment and encourages maintaining unity where possible. The spiritual lesson lies in observing human tendencies toward conflict while striving for peace, understanding, and empathy, even when larger systems fail. Recognizing patterns of division equips believers to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, maintaining spiritual integrity. Why is division growing everywhere? Are people reacting more emotionally than thoughtfully? What happens when fear controls conversations? Could division itself become part of the problem? Beyond political and social factors, there is a spiritual dimension to conflict. Scripture suggests that unseen forces influence human events, guiding the course of nations and individuals. While not always visible, these spiritual patterns manifest through repeated cycles of conflict, moral decline, and human ambition. In the Middle East, the persistence of war reflects not just geopolitical struggles, but also the fulfillment of broader prophetic themes. Recognizing this dimension provides insight into why peace remains elusive. For believers, understanding the spiritual aspect enhances discernment, allowing them to view current events within a larger context. Observing the alignment of historical patterns with prophecy underscores that human actions alone do not dictate outcomes. The spiritual layer encourages reflection, prayer, and reliance on divine wisdom rather than solely on human solutions. Could there be more happening than what we see physically? Why do these events feel spiritually significant to many people? Are we paying attention to the right things? What if the real battle isn't only political?
Believers are called to remain grounded, discerning, and prayerful amid global unrest. The Bible emphasizes vigilance, faithfulness, and awareness, reminding followers not to be consumed by fear or distraction. In the context of Middle Eastern conflicts, this means maintaining spiritual focus while observing current events with clarity. Prayer, study of Scripture, and communal support are essential tools for staying anchored. Understanding prophecy and spiritual patterns equips believers to respond appropriately, avoiding panic or misinformation. By prioritizing spiritual discernment over emotional reaction, believers can uphold God's work in their lives and communities, even during times of widespread instability. The faithful are encouraged to act with wisdom, not simply react to external pressures, and to view conflict as both warnings and opportunities for spiritual growth. How should believers respond to constant global tension? Are we feeding fear or strengthening faith? What does spiritual readiness actually look like? How do we stay grounded in uncertain times?
We began by exploring why peace in the Middle East repeatedly collapses despite ongoing efforts. We analyzed the region's global significance and how biblical warnings about wars and unrest continue to resonate. The illusion of temporary peace, the emotional and spiritual toll on believers, and the patterns of division all point to a deeper reality. Human systems alone cannot sustain lasting peace. Spiritual patterns foretold in Scripture suggest that instability serves as a signal for vigilance and preparation. For believers, the focus should not solely be on political outcomes, but on maintaining spiritual awareness and integrity. Understanding these cycles helps contextualize events and reinforces the need for discernment. Ultimately, whether peace comes or not, the real question is how we respond. Faith, awareness, and prayer become the pillars that anchor believers through uncertainty, ensuring that spiritual priorities remain intact despite external chaos. After everything we've explored, how do you see these conflicts now? Are we witnessing temporary events or a growing pattern? What is currently shaping your focus, fear or truth? If the world becomes more unstable, will your faith remain steady?